Hi everyone, welcome back to my personal YouTube channel. You know, somebody recently said to me, I'm confused as to what your personal YouTube channel is. And truly, this YouTube channel is where I just put more of my casual stuff. It's like vlogs, family stuff, topics that just feel kind of random, lifestyle, that kind of stuff. Today, I'm bringing my channel back with a personal Ask Me Anything. All right, so the other day I posted on my Instagram stories Ask Me Anything, and I said that I would be answering questions on my personal YouTube channel. And what I ended up getting was such an assortment of questions. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. So in this video, the questions will be all personal questions. There won't be anything about work or business or how I manage or anything like that. None of my family questions. Those will all be in separate videos because there were so many questions for each of those topics. Today it's truly just personal questions. There were a few people that asked this, but the one question I'm focusing on is, I'm mixed like you, mixed ethnicity. How did I handle that growing up? Growing up mixed. So I am half Mexican, half Korean. Growing up mixed like that, and then add on to it like I grew up really poor. And when I say I grew up really poor, I grew up really poor. I was the poor kid in school. You know, growing up mixed and then also being poor and then also just trying to like navigate being a kid and then a teenager and all of that kind of stuff, it's really, really hard. The thing that was the hardest growing up was not my family life, because when you're a kid, you're pretty adaptable. Like, it's easy to hop into my Mexican side of the family, and it's just that side of my family, my dad's side of the family, is very lively, you know, feel good, let's live life to the fullest kind of attitude. You know, that was living life with my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family, Korean side, was very conservative. My mom had a really hard relationship with especially her father because of the path that she chose with her life. My mom was really hard about, you know, like opening up about Korean culture. And also I grew up in New Mexico, where it is like predominantly Latino. And when I say Latino, I've seen people be like, she refers to Latino as if it's like one thing. I realize it's not just one race. I realize there are a lot of people that fall under Latino, and that is what New Mexico is. New Mexico is a lot of different people. Anyway, so I grew up feeling like I was mostly Latina. And the really weird thing about that is I had to go through a lot of like identity crisis, because while I was like, I am a Latina, people would look at me and be like, but you don't look like you're Latina. You're not Latina. And so I experienced a lot of that kind of criticism and bullying. You know, kids are just hard, and you're gonna get bullied for something. And the thing that I got bullied for the most was that I did not fit in. I was not the same as all of my classmates and everything, and you know, just people that I would meet and stuff, because I didn't look like I was Latina, I looked like I was Asian. But whenever my mom would try to include me in anything that felt like an Asian, you know, like, you know, she would meet a Korean family that would move to, you know, to New Mexico, which is very rare. And so she'd be like, let's go to like a gathering or something. And I'd show up and it'd be like, you're Korean? You're not Korean. So it was kind of like, you're not Korean, you're not Mexican, you don't belong with us. So there was a lot of knowing who I was as far as my family, my parents saying who I was, but then being denied, you know, on both ends. In college, I like overcompensated. I was like, I am going to be la raza, like hard, and I'm going to, you know, represent. It was a college environment too. I went to the University of New Mexico, go Lobos. For me, it was like all about, you know, representing my culture and stuff. And I was like president of the National Hispanic Scholarship, and I was in all of my Spanish courses and making sure that I was gonna go to Spain when I did my exchange program so that we can like trace my roots and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of like, college was all about being Latina. When I look back on it, it's like, you know, I love that. I love that I like really embraced it and stuff. Bringing it all back, growing up, especially back then, was really hard. I didn't see people like me on television. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. It was really, really hard. And there were definitely times where I used to blame my parents. I used to be like, this is your fault. I'm being bullied because of you guys. But really, I think it comes down to kids are really, really hard. And the thing that made that really hard was it just felt like I didn't have an identity. It was really hard to figure out where it was that I fit in. Now as an adult, I am obsessed with being mixed. I love that I had a lot of different perspectives growing up, and I'm really excited for my kids to also be multicultural and have lots of experiences in their lives. I think it just makes your life a lot richer. Oh my God, what age did I start Botox? I got Botox for the very, very first time when I turned 30. It's been 9 years since my first Botox. My crow's feet were bothering me. I did not believe in Botox. I was really scared to get Botox. And these days people get Botox like they're getting their nails done, and it seems like it's not that big of a deal. But back when I got Botox, back in my day when I got Botox, that's what it sounds like. Back when I first got Botox, it seemed really scary to me to get Botox. I went to go see Dr. DHIR. He's actually on my YouTube channel, Mixed Makeup. He's become a really good friend, and I've known him for that long now that I think about this. But he was the plastic surgeon I decided to go to, and it's because he focuses on facial plastic surgery. So he focuses on this from the neck up. That's his specialty. And so I decided to go to him, and I got Botox in my crow's feet, which is this little area right here. And that's because I'm always smiling. I have been such a smiley person since I was a little girl. You know, I've always been smiley, and that catches up to you because I get crow's feet. And so when I was 30, I decided I wanted to try to get Botox in my crow's feet. So I went to Dr. DHIR. He gave me my first Botox, and I was obsessed, like almost immediately. And I remember my husband Arun being so mad at me. He was like, I can't believe you're gonna get Botox. You're going to ruin your face. Like, it turned into this huge fight. And then after it kicked in, it takes about like 3 to 5 days for your Botox to kick in. He looked at me one day and he was like, you think I need Botox? I was like, no, do not get Botox, which is such a double standard, I realize, but I like a distinguished man, and that's how I want Arun to be. So I was like, no Botox for you, but Botox for me. So what is some advice I wish I could give my younger self? When I was younger, I had a lot of dark days. You know, there were days where I was even suicidal when I was a teenager. You know, I felt like I was being bullied so much. And I also had other experiences with boys and things that, you know, I wouldn't wish on anybody. And when I look back on that, the feelings that I had of like not ever being able to make it out of that, the feeling of that. And I remember, you know, like looking at my dad, he would see me like crying and just kind of like holed up in my room. And I remember the look that he had. And it was this look of helplessness. Like, I don't know what I can do for my daughter. And now that I'm a parent, I feel that too. I like think about my dad a lot. I think about, my dad's one of those people that like, you can just see what he's thinking and feeling on his face. Like, it's just, he can't hide anything. You know, there are moments of your life when you are young, especially, where you feel like you're not gonna get past something. You feel like this is it. Like the world is crumbling down around you, and this is the worst thing you've ever experienced. Now I can really look back on it, and you'll hear people tell you that you know, you're going to get past this, and you'll look back on it and you'll even laugh about it and stuff. And it's true. That's the crazy thing. It's like, you really will look back someday and be like, why did I think that was such a big deal? And I mean this like not just through my teen years, but even into my 20s, there were moments of my life where it just felt like this was the biggest thing. And I couldn't get past it. Like, it just was so hung up on it. Even dating, I had a couple of long-term serious relationships that didn't work out. And I just remember feeling so, I don't know, like this was the end. Like, this is it. How do I ever do better? Now I'm 39 and I can look back on all of it, and I can not only laugh, but I can know I did do better. I am doing better, and I did do better, and it's such an amazing feeling to look back on that. So when people tell you that someday you'll look back on this and laugh, they're right. You will someday look back on this. Whatever it is that you're going through, you will someday look back on it and you'll be like, that wasn't that big of a deal, and I got through this. What did I aspire to be when I was a child? I'd say until like almost all through elementary school, I wanted to be an archaeologist. It was like paleontologist, archaeologist. I was obsessed with dinosaurs. It actually makes me very happy to see my son equally obsessed with dinosaurs. I would say to people all the time, I was gonna be a dinosaur. And then I was gonna be a dinosaur. T-Rex. That's what I asked Nikosh. I'm like, what'd you do at school today? He's like, T-Rex. Dino T-Rex. I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I was obsessed with fossils. Growing up, especially in New Mexico, there are so many areas where you can go for digs and stuff. You can find like little fossils, not necessarily dinosaur fossils, but just fossils from, you know, plants and stuff. There's so much nature around you in New Mexico, and you get all of these little pockets where you can find ancient stuff. When I say ancient, I mean like truly ancient. Like there's this area that I used to love going to when I was a little girl in Albuquerque called the petroglyphs. You would see like from the indigenous peoples that were living there back in the day, you'd see how they lived in these caves and stuff, and you would see some of their drawings on the walls and everything. It was so cool to me to grow up looking at all of this stuff and having this all around me just naturally. Like it was like an activity that my dad and I would go do, and we would climb like the lava rocks and stuff because there were so many volcanoes in New Mexico. I loved rocks and I loved crystals and I loved dinosaur fossils and just any kind of fossil. So I was really interested in that. And then my mom works actually for the US Forest Service. She's been working for the US Forest Service for years, decades. That means that there are also archaeologists on the team. So when I was in middle school, I think I was like in 6th grade, my mom was like, I've got a treat for you. I'm going to send you out on an archaeological dig with one of our archaeologists. And I was like, oh, like the world is coming together. And I went out and it was the worst experience. I was like, this is the most boring shit I've ever done. And I am dirty. I'm getting so dirty. Like you sit around in like a pile of dust or something and you just like, it's long. You have to be patient. You have to be okay with getting all dusty and dirty. And it turns out I'm allergic to grass and dust and stuff. And I realized how prissy I was in that very moment. That changed. Like in a matter of like a day, I was no longer interested. I no longer wanted to be outside ever again. I never wanted anything to do with that ever again. Like the tomboy in me suddenly like went off, like completely gone. My dad was horrified because up until that point I was like his little tomboy, and then I no longer ever was again. and suddenly it was all about being pretty and makeup and hair and clothing and boys and stuff. I think about this all the time with Isla, especially having a girl now. I'm like, if this happens, I don't know how I can't even imagine it, because I think about how I was when I was younger. So when I was younger, I wanted to be an archaeologist. When I got into like my teenage years, I wanted to be a singer. I used to walk around. I mean, I wanted to be a singer in elementary school too. I guess that's probably the one like consistent thing that I wanted to be, was a singer. I used to sing like in my classes. I would like walk down the halls singing. I would volunteer to sing anything. If there was a choir, I would join it. Like you would not get me to not sing. Like it was like, somebody would be like, can someone sing? I'd be like, I can sing. I will sing for you. And so I loved singing, and I thought maybe that would be what I would do. But when you grow up in a small town, you really don't feel like there's an opportunity for you. And in a lot of ways it led to like my pageant days, and I kind of got to get that out of my system. And then when I got to college, I thought I wanted to be a psychologist. And I was kind of like, I don't really want to be a psychologist. I don't know. Do I want to be a psychologist? And then I kept coming back down to like, I want to be an MTV news reporter. Very specifically, that is what I wanted to be. So when I was in like freshman year of college, I was like, I'm gonna be an MTV news reporter. That's a whole long story, and maybe I'll address it a little bit in my business/professional Ask Me Anything questions video. I sat up because I realized I was trying to like lean back in my sofa and get real casual with you guys. Okay, next question. Oh my goodness, I am going to answer some jewelry questions, because the question I get probably the most is, where did you get this dainty little necklace from? This is a Tiffany necklace. My husband bought this for me 4 years ago. Maybe, actually, I think 4 years ago, my husband bought this for me. It is a diamonds by the yard necklace, but it's only a diamond, so it's a diamond. It's diamonds by the yard, but it's a diamond. The reason why I got this was because it was kind of in celebration of the fact that I was pregnant. You know, like people call it like push gifts and stuff. It was like a birthday / congratulations / we're gonna be parents gift. This is one of the most expensive things that my husband has purchased for me, and I really never take this necklace off. It has been around my neck for 4 years. I took it off for my 2 C-sections because I had to. There are a couple of very major moments where I took it off, but other than that, this necklace never comes off. There are so many other brands that sell this necklace also. So you don't have to buy a Tiffany one, and I don't think it necessarily is better or more special because it's Tiffany, but I do love the daintiness of this necklace. I love this necklace. Since we're on the topic of jewelry, because I get questions about this stuff a lot, where do I get my jewelry from? A lot of my jewelry has come from India. My mother-in-law loves to gift jewelry. I chose wisely. She's got great taste in jewelry as well. So a lot of my jewelry has come from India, and a lot of it has been gifted to me from my mother-in-law and also from my husband. My husband's he's a jewelry gift giver, and he'll tell you this. He's decided that giving me jewelry is the best investment and best gift for me because he has purchased like nice bags for me in the past, or like, you know, just something fancy for me in the past, and he's noticed that I'm not the type of person to really use it. And it doesn't get the love that jewelry gets when he gets jewelry for me. So jewelry is like one of my favorite things. And someday I will be dripping in diamonds. I want to be that woman, that old lady who's like just covered in diamonds. That's what I'm going to be. But so the jewelry that I have, well, first off, someone was asking about my piercings, how many piercings I have. I have 2 up here. I have 3 on my earlobes. So I have 3 on each side of my earlobes, and then I have 2 on this side on my cartilage, and I have 1 right here. I don't have any other piercings. The place that I get my jewelry, so I said partially from India. My engagement and wedding ring is from a woman named HEIDI GIBSON. I found her on Instagram years ago, and she was like starting to kind of blow up, but she wasn't that big. I actually, back then, got to actually sit with HEIDI at a coffee shop, and we got to discuss my ring and like how I wanted it to look, and she brought some samples with her and stuff, so we got to like design it together and everything. So HEIDI GIBSON. And if you guys don't know, I actually redid my ring. So HEIDI helped me redo my ring because when I first got it, it was just a solitaire, and not that there's anything bad about that, it's just that I didn't really know what I wanted as far as my engagement ring went, and my husband had even asked me before we got married. He was like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't really know what I want. And so after a few years, I decided this is what I wanted, what you see now. And then as far as like this bracelet, for instance, is a gift from my mother-in-law. This ring is from Anna Sheffield, and this one is very special to me because it's actually 2 rings. I'm into these rings where you can have like a jacket situation, but this is a moonstone, and the moonstone is Nikash's Hindu birthstone. I love moonstones first off, but it also represents Nikash. And then this is the newest edition. It's a little ring that I got from my mother-in-law actually, but it represents Isla because it's all sapphires. It's different colored sapphires, and her birthstone is the sapphire. And I think we traditionally think of sapphires as the blue stone, but they can actually be all these different colors. So I got this little rainbow ring to represent Isla. And maybe for Christmas, hint hint to my husband, I'll get the blue stones as another ring. As far as my earrings go, these are from India. They are just gold earrings. A guy named ADRIAN Castillo actually did my 3rd piercing. He's here, he actually like bounces around from LA to New York to a couple of other places, I think. He works with a guy named J. Colby Smith, and I was obsessed with what they were doing as far as like ear piercings and stuff. They have jewelry as well. So this little tiny rose gold hoop, that is, I actually haven't taken that off since I got that piercing. These 3rd piercings are my newest piercings. This is from Mejuri, whatever, that online shop. You know, my earrings have been kind of like weird since we've just been in self-quarantine. I haven't been that excited. These are from Mejuri as well. You guys might remember I used to have these like diamond gold hoops up here. Those were from India. They were my favorite gift from my mother-in-law. They were the first like real piece of jewelry that she gave me, and sadly I lost those because I had to take them off during my 2nd C-section, my C-section with Isla. I had taken all of my other jewelry off, and then my doctor had said to me that I was fine wearing these little earrings, and then the nurse was like, you actually have to take all of your jewelry off. And I knew sitting in the hospital that morning, just as she said that, I was like, I'm going to lose these. And I don't know why. I should have said like, I gotta be like diligent about this, but I just knew it because I was about to basically be, you know, out of it. She put them in a little baggie and gave them to my husband, and I never saw them again. So I lost those. Sadly, I haven't gotten over it. There are lots of brands that sell these types of those little kind of earrings. Those were amazing. I love them, and I can't really get those exact ones back because there was a lot of meaning behind them. So I'm sad about that. But somebody was asking also, oh yeah, and then this one is, geez, what is this brand? I'll find it. I'll leave links to all of my jewelry places down in the description box, besides the stuff from India. Somebody was asking about my helix piercing. I think that what they're referring to are my piercings up here at the top of my ears. Somebody was asking like, how do I maintain that, or how do I keep those with kids running around, and whether they like hit them or something. But these are long healed. I have had these for more than 20 years. All of these piercings, besides the third piercing, I have had since I was either a teenager or a kid. Actually, my first piercing when I was like a kid. And then all the other piercings I got as a teenager, and then in college, I think I got my final ones. So I have had my piercings for a very, very long time. I was cool back when I was younger. How do I do it all? Here's the big one, you guys. I don't do it all. First off, I have not figured out at all how to manage my life these days, and I always feel like a chicken with my head cut off. The concept of trying to do it all is a non-existent concept. I have people around me who are doing lots of different things. First off, I have my husband at home, so that's one thing. I also have a nanny who helps me during the week with the kids. I also have a team for mixed makeup who have been with me for a few years, and when I say I have a team, like, it's not big, don't get me wrong, but I do have a team. And you know, people sometimes wonder like, why do you need a team for mixed makeup? But if you think about it, we used to run 3 YouTube channels. We have mixed makeup, we have this YouTube channel. We used to run YouTube channels for lots of other people. I think a lot of you don't realize that. So we used to start channels for people, for celebrities, and also run those channels. So that means producing all of their content and creating it. We used to have a production company. A lot of this has disappeared this year. I don't have any clients really this year. I mean, and it's not because they don't want to be clients, it's because of the pandemic, and we haven't really been able to go out and do video shoots and stuff. So a lot of my business is kind of like collapsed and crumbled. But that doesn't mean that there aren't new things to kind of, you know, like we're constantly like, okay, pivot. Let's move on to something else. So, and then when it comes to Naturium, there is a team with Naturium too. You guys know I have a business partner. He has his own team. He runs an incubator. There's a whole lot that I could get into with that. And I actually think that, you know, there were so many questions about Naturium and how we started it and running a business and all that kind of stuff. So I'll probably do a whole separate video with him so that we can answer those questions together. So long answer to just say, I do not have my shit together whatsoever. I get my day started with like babies crawling all over me, try to get them fed, get them, you know, like have some playtime with them. My nanny gets here, I go like focused on work. This is when I am, you know, like trying to knock out all of the things that I have to knock out. I have a to-do list, and I don't have a fancy to-do list at all. I try as hard as I can to do all of the things that are on my to-do list for the day. Literally like around 5:30 p.m. my nanny leaves, and it is 100% mom time. I have my kids crawling all over me. And when I say my kids, I mean also my dog Mason. And then, you know, like we eat dinner. We're on like a tight schedule. It's like a shift. It's like from 5 to about 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish. I am mom 100%. You might see like my social media content goes up, and then it's like, no, I'm not looking at my phone at all again for the next few hours. And I'm just hanging out with the kids and everything. We're eating our dinner and stuff, doing our bedtime ritual. And then I get a little period of time again where I get to do more work. So that is how I do things. I am working most of my day, and this goes through the weekend too. I try lately to have at least like one day over the weekend where I do not work. And I try not to like get involved in like conversations online and do all that kind of stuff. I try to just focus on my family so that I have, you know, not just time with my family, but also just a little bit of like calm within myself too. So that is what I've been doing lately. I still don't feel like I have the right system, and I'm hoping that I will have, you know, some kind of work-life balance eventually. Out of everything I've accomplished, what am I the most proud of? Well, I'll tell you guys, I'm the most proud that I have taken myself out of what seemed like, you know, a situation growing up where, you know, I come from nothing as far as money goes and stuff. And I come from a place where, you know, I grew up in a small town of like population 8,000. When you grow up like that, you don't necessarily feel like there are opportunities for you at all. Like, you don't really see where your future could be, and you don't really see how do you get to that next step. I went to the University of New Mexico, which is not a bad university, but at the same time, there aren't a lot of opportunities around you still, right? And I'm really proud of the fact that I got myself out of, I guess it's like getting myself out of the little town. I got myself out of poverty, and I got an education, and I am now I'm still trying to be successful. I still think there's so much more I can achieve, and I am trying to do that right now. I know some people think I'm like really wealthy. Well, I'm definitely not like rich, like the way I think some people think. I definitely consider myself successful in the sense of I can support my family. I feel confident that I will be able to provide for my kids, and I help my parents out whenever they need help. It's a really good feeling to be able to be like, my mom can say like, oh, this happened the other day or something, and I could be like, don't worry about it, Mom, I got you. Like, that is the most important thing in my life, to be able to turn to my mom and be like, don't worry, Mom, don't stress out at all, because I'm here. And that is the biggest accomplishment to me. Question, something I do when I'm bored. Here's the thing, guys. I have 2 businesses. I have a husband who takes up a lot of my attention. He requires it like a child. And I also have 2 actual children and a dog. So I am never, ever bored. I actually dream of days of being bored. I have not had a chance to be bored in a few years. When you start to have kids, you just don't get that opportunity ever again. And I remember like, I'd always hear moms before I was a mom be like, I don't have time and I am never bored and stuff. But it's true. I used to be like, whatever. But it's absolutely true. You do not have time to sit around and be bored. It sounds like a luxury. Like, somebody saying like they're bored, I'm like envious. It's a luxury. I cannot wait for the days when I'm bored. But I guess I don't like being bored, so I'm never bored. When I do get time, or when I just force myself to have time, I guess I like to just sit around and watch some TV with my husband. I used to love going to the movies back when that was a thing. Remember that, when we used to go to movies? I'm a very good online shopper. I shop in the deep, dark depths of my bed. At 2 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep, I go online shopping. But as far as like the things that really, like feed me and get me going, I love to travel and I love eating. I love food. My world. You would actually think that I should have started like a food YouTube channel or something like that, but I think it's because I wanted to keep food as something very special to me, because when you make anything work, it becomes work. So while I love skincare and I love beauty and everything, I love food. I love eating, and my husband does too. We love food. The biggest misconception people have about me. I think the biggest misconception that people have about me is that I have my shit together, and that everything is always like lining up in place for me, but it's not true. I have so much shit that fails, but I just kind of move past it. I'm like, okay, well, with that failure, and I don't even like to call it a failure, with like that thing that didn't work out, what do we take from it? And how do we do that better now? So a lot of people don't realize that, like, I think people think that maybe that I started like a YouTube channel and it was just successful, but it wasn't. It's never been like that for me. Everything that I have and everything that I have built, I have absolutely worked for, and I have worked really hard for it, as in like hours and hours and hours, not sleeping, just focusing all of my attention and my life on these things. I think people think that it's easy, or that I got everything just kind of like it just came to me, but it's not true. I have worked my butt off. I think people also forget that I'm not a kid on the internet either. I'm not even in my 20s. I am closer to my 40s. I've had a huge career path to get to where I am. So, I think that is the biggest misconception, is that I get lumped into this, like, this all must have been very easy and it just came to me very easily, but that's not true at all. What?
There's more misconception.
Well, okay, Carly wants to tell you the biggest misconceptions about me. Come here, Carly. It's your turn. So this is Carly. She has her mask on. This is how we work these days. It's a lot of fun. Nikki is in a mask over there too. What are the biggest misconceptions about me?
Okay, Susan is hilarious. Oh. And I feel like people don't get that in videos at all.
Well, I mean, I have a personality to uphold.
She's also a straight up G. Like, she'll start breaking out into like rap, like you'll hit it, you'll bust it down. Like, there's so much like hood to Susan. I feel like she comes on camera and she's like a beauty pageant queen, but like behind the scenes, like, no.
And I have a potty mouth. Actually, I cuss every once in a while on camera, but
no, but it's a very censored version, what you guys see. My last one.
yeah.
You are one of the messiest people that I've ever met in my life. You should see The Office.
I know people are like, house tour.
The only reason why the house tour went up on your channel was because you were moving out, so it was empty.
It was clean. Yeah, empty. Yeah, no house tour, you guys. I'm not very, my house is not together. There you go. I don't keep my shit together. Like there are places in my life where it falls apart. And one of them is I'm not a dirty person.
I was just gonna say, you're messy, but you're not dirty.
Yeah, I'm not a dirty person. I just have a lot of shit. A lot of stuff. And that comes from partially being like in the beauty business and having a lot of beauty products and stuff. We've tried to like limit PR packages and everything. Like I only really request anything if we know we're gonna use it. And it's to the point where I buy a lot of the products too. And then also I have a lot of baby crap. And that's one of the things I look forward to as Isla starts to get a little bit older, is that the baby stuff starts to become more and more minimal. And I can't wait. Can't wait to get rid of it. Baby stuff is very big and bulky. There's baby stuff all over the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
Thank you, Carly. That was very enlightening. My first kiss. I technically kissed a boy when I was 5. I used to live in a trailer park in San Antonio, Texas. And I remember there was a neighbor boy and I gave him a kiss. There was this girl kind of like egging us on and I kissed him on the lips and then she ran and told my dad and my dad was pissed. Like no other. So that was my first like kiss with a boy. My first French kiss was when I was 12. I kissed a boy. I remember they were like, we called them the barracks. Is that a term for schools? Like, you know, like my public school had like the main school, but then there were all these like kind of like outer like buildings outside that were additions as like the school was like, I guess the population was getting too big for the school. So they built like these other classes outside and we call them the barracks. And so I met up with this boy. We went behind the barracks to have our first kiss and everybody was watching from the sides and I was really, really nervous and somebody pushed us kind of together and we kind of like tongue kissed and it was disgusting and like messy and weird. And that was my first like real kiss. How do I stay positive / confident? I don't. I just sulk. I have gotten through so much stuff. I feel like the best thing about being a wise woman is that I can look back and I can know that I have gotten through some really tough shit. I have gotten myself out of it and I have become better for it. And I think about that all the time. And because of that, there's nothing for me to be unhappy about and there's nothing that I can't get through. I always think about this. There is nothing I can't get through. I might not be happy while I'm trying to get through it, but there is nothing I can't get through. And I know it's amazing when you really dig deep how strong we are as human beings. It really is amazing. And I want you guys to always remember that. And when I put everything into perspective, confidence, at least seemingly confidence. Back in my 20s, I was a major yo-yo dieter. It didn't help that I was a like health and wellness reporter. So it was like the height of all these like diet trends and stuff too that were coming in, and it was like widely accepted to just hop onto the next diet. And I think it kind of is now too for people to hop on diets. There are diets that come and go all the time. And I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is everything in moderation. And if you have like personal beliefs, like if you want to be vegan or vegetarian, do that. If you like to eat a wide assortment of food, eat that, but everything in moderation, and make sure that you have nutrients in your system. Like that is the biggest thing. Like make sure you also have nutrient-rich, nutrient-dense food. And I'm talking your vegetables and your fruits, but having a little bit of all of it. Why not have a little bit of all of it? And when you have a little bit of all of it, you don't feel deprived, and then you don't end up going up and down in your weight. There have been times, if you've been following me on social media for a while, there have been times where I have gone gluten-free, or I try to be minimal about the gluten that I eat in my diet, and that is for health reasons and not for weight reasons. I'd like to think that going gluten-free would make me thinner, but I don't think that's necessarily true, because these days you can find a lot of foods that are plenty fattening that don't have gluten in them, so that really doesn't play a factor. A while back, I was diagnosed with something called Hashimoto's disease. It's a thyroid disease. It's an autoimmune disease. You know, one of the ways that you can try to combat that is by being gluten-free and grain-free and dairy-free and all of the frees. And to me, there's something with me psychologically that I just cannot handle that. It makes me a worse person. I eat worse because of it. So I always end up falling off of that kind of a diet, and it really just all diets in general, and I just really believe everything in moderation. The one time that I was very serious about being gluten-free was my first pregnancy, and that's because I was just so nervous about pregnancy in general, because there are so many bad things that can happen when you have an autoimmune disease and you are pregnant. You can have miscarriage, it can hurt your child. You're like trying to do the best that you can to make sure that your baby is healthy. And so my first pregnancy specifically, I was very, very conscious of my diet as far as like gluten went, and I was just trying to really take care of my body and nurture it so that I could have a healthy baby. Second baby, I was like, whatever, all went out the door, and she's also just equally cute and healthy. What did 18-year-old Susan think I would be doing at this stage? 18-year-old Susan, well, first off, let me get myself into that mindset. So 18-year-old Susan was a know-it-all. Still a know-it-all. At 18, I really felt like I was going to do something big. I didn't know what. I always believe I've had a drive in me. Like whenever people are like, how are you so ambitious? How do you have a drive? I have always been this person. Like even when I didn't have access to anything, even when I didn't have just anything at all, I always knew deep down that I was going to do something, right? Like whatever it was I wanted to put my mind to it, I was going to do it. And that's something that I have always felt. And so at 18, I was probably at the height of like really being self-absorbed and thinking that I just was on top of the world. There's something about like you graduate from high school and you go off on your own and stuff, and you just think you are a badass. Don't worry, it came crashing down on me, don't worry. But 18-year-old Susan, I thought I was going to be running the show somewhere. No matter what it was I was doing, I knew I was going to be in charge of something, and something that I was really proud of. All right, so those were all of my personal questions that I decided to answer today. I will answer more questions. You can feel free to ask in the comments below. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara. Like I said, I will have more videos coming over the next few weeks. That's about it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.